Welcome recording in progress. All right, welcome everybody to the very first WRPA Virtual Board Open House. My name is Jennifer Papich. I'm the Recreation Director for the City of Spokane and your current past president on the board. We wanted to do this first ever open house in efforts to better connect with the membership that was interested in potentially being on our board and maybe had some questions or weren't quite sure what it was all about. So we wanted to have this very informal meet and greet question and answer session to kind of get some of those hesitations or worries about some folks before maybe you guys are thinking about being on the board, but you're not quite sure what it all entails. So we just wanted to be more accessible and create an environment for our members that are interested to see what we're all about and learn about the opportunities. And hopefully you guys will put your name in the hat for a nomination after you hear us and our spiel and how wonderful it is to be on the board. So again, today is going to be super relaxed. How it's going to flow is the board members that are present on the call. We're just going to share a little bit about who we are, what our positions are with our cities, kind of talking about why we're on the board, what we do in our specific role, what is the time commitment, those kind of things. And please feel free to ask questions along the way. If you have a specific question, like I said, it's super, super relaxed. And this is intended for you to get the information that you need if you're interested or considering being on the board. So we have a few open board positions for 2023. Those positions are Southwest Region Director. So that director position is over Clark, Kitsap, Pierce County, Thurston County, Skamania, that type of area. We have our Northwest Region Director, and that is over Skagit, Snohomish, Whatcom, the San Juan Island area. We have a Director at Large position and our Vice President position. Even though those are the open positions, we'll talk about what those duties are, but we'll share what everybody else's duties are as well. Before we get started, does anybody have any questions or anything they'd like to say? Okay. Sounds good. Again, just please feel free to ask questions, raise your hand, or however you want to do that, and we'll get you taken care of. So we're going to start with the positions that are open this year. And we'll start now. If you want to go ahead and start and talk about your position on the board, what that entails.
Sorry, Jen, who did you say my computer glitched out?
Oh, Justin Brown.
Okay, sorry, I thought I heard my name, but same thing. I only got half of it.
Sorry.
Okay, my name is Justin Brown. I am the recreation manager for the City of Longview Parks and Rec Department. I have been on the board for two years officially now, I think. My term as treasurer will be up here shortly. So the last couple of years I've spent as treasurer. It's a fairly straightforward position. We obviously have a budget as WRPA, and it's kind of my job to be oversight on expenses, approving invoices, and making sure that we're following our guidelines and policies that are set. So that's really all that it's entailed at this point. I mean, I've had a little bit of insight and oversight, I guess, with how our budget is presented. And helping make some tweaks here and there. SBI takes care of the bulk of it, so they're more or less just giving information to me, bouncing ideas off of me, making sure that what they're doing sounds good, and then we move everything forward to the board as a whole. So pretty simple, not all that time consuming. We have one meeting a month, maybe, and then there's a few email exchanges, and that's about it. So pretty crucial. Obviously, the financial side of the board as WRPA as a whole is important. And so just making sure that we're following spending money where we should be. So.
And aren't you also the Southwest Region Director?
I am.
Okay.
Yeah. So Southwest Region Director, as Jennifer stated, over 5-6 counties, I believe. The Southwest region is a little difficult. Covers a lot of area, but there's not that many departments that exist down here. So it's just outreach. We get a monthly list that gives us contacts for different agencies, those that have been members, those that memberships have lapsed, and then doing research to outreach to other organizations that we know of within our area that have never been involved before. So again, a couple hours a month, sending emails, Zoom with other agencies, basically any way that you can get them to communicate with you, asking them questions about, well, why did you guys let your membership lapse? Are you going to be coming back? Are we just switching membership types? What can we do to get you back, and those kind of conversations. So it's great. It's a network building opportunity for you as an individual, and it also helps the association.
Very cool. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. So next we will go on to our Northwest Region Director, Lauren Woodmansey. If you want to share.
Hi, everyone. Yes, my name is Lauren. I am the Northwest Director. It covers Whatcom, Skagit, Snohomish Island, just that far left corner up here, and right before we head to our friends to the north in Canada. I have been on the board. This is the end of my 3rd year. I was on the board many years ago, back in the, I don't know, 2005 to 2010 era or something like that, only for an interim position because someone resigned. It's a great experience. The main thing that I try to do is to make sure that everybody up in this area is aware of things that are happening, just because of geography. As Justin mentioned, it's harder the farther you're away from the bigger cities like Spokane and Seattle. So trying to drum up some interest with folks up north that might not be able to go to all the meetings and such. I reach out, I try to, somebody calls and says, hey, do you know anybody? I just got a call a couple of weeks ago. Do you know anybody who's getting dirt? Where did we get infield dirt? So I try to connect people with each other, try to share information and contacts and either emails or phone numbers. And as far as a commitment goes, it kind of goes ebbs and flows. There's times that you're just going to your monthly meetings, which fortunately are Zoom right now, which in years past, it had been a lot harder again for people to travel so far away. But for the most part, it's Zoom meetings, and then phone calls here and there, emails here and there, and then attendance. I try to make it to the annual and the mid-year conference for my own personal growth of attending a conference, but also supporting WRPA, and also then reconnecting with all of our professionals. And I joined the board because I wanted to get involved. I was very lucky to work in departments always up here in the Northwest region from Marysville North, but my directors at the time were all very supportive of being involved with WRPA and giving back and of mentoring. And so I too believe in that. And so that's why I've been involved. And I would encourage people, no matter if you're a seasoned veteran or you're a newcomer or you're new to our state, I would encourage people to get involved. As well as what now have become some of my nearest and dearest friends. So that's why I'm involved.
Awesome. Thanks, Lauren. Does anybody have any questions for Justin or Lauren before we move on? Hey, you guys are quiet. Next, we're going to move to our director at large position. We have 2 of those. Gabby Gonzalez, who is with the city of Burien, is the director at large that is coming off the board. But we have Brian Judd here, who is our director at large currently, and he can share. He's very new to the board, and we're super happy to have him. And he can share about what he's done so far and what enticed him to come on board.
Thank you very much. As mentioned, my name is Brian Judd. My pronouns are he, him, and I'm a manager with Seattle Parks and Recreation. And I am in an at-large seat. And this is my second month now in what's going to be a 1.5-year term, I believe. And I actually asked Tiffany to clarify for me just a little bit, along with the information that's on the website, what the difference is between at-large and our regional seats. And it's about kind of looking at the agency and the state, the profession and the statewide level, which really kind of fits how I view it. So I'm happy to be filling that role. And I'm looking forward to learning more as I move along. And I'm grateful to everybody on board for this. The hours per month commitment, I was told before I joined that it was going to be average out to about 5 hours a month. And that seems to be on track. It's very reasonable, very easy to manage. I would not worry too much about there being a huge time commitment beyond potentially if you attend the conference as a board member, you'll be asked to do a bit more, but that kind of sense it seems to kind of go with the job. I joined the board after serving for a little while as the co-chair of the Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Committee. I was asked to step on to the board to finish out somebody else's term because they left early. I had run actually for the position and I did not get it, which was fine. And I was happy to also step in to fill in. And I have a deep passion around furthering racial equity and social justice goals within the Parks and Recreation profession. And so was pleased that that seemed to be a good match for the board. So very much championing that work. I'm also very interested in just participating in strengthening the Parks and Recreation profession throughout the state. I'm a big believer in Parks and Recreation as a form of public service, as a way to keep our cities and our towns and our communities strong. We tend to be kind of unsung heroes in our profession, and I want us to sing a little bit more. I'm tired of being unsung. I want us to sing our tune. You know, we hear a lot, I mean, in Seattle, I'll give you a little insight. Sometimes we have other departments that are very good at telling their story, kind of pushing themselves forward and everything. And I'd like to see us do a little bit more of that as a profession. So I'm excited to do that. And it's for those reasons. I mean, the last question we have is, why would you encourage others to join the board? I would encourage others to join the board so that you can offer your superpower to the Parks and Recreation profession on the statewide level. We all have a superpower. Some of us have multiple superpowers. And I encourage you all to take some time about, like, what is that thing that you do really well, really easily and effectively, that you have been commended for, that you bring kind of as your thing every day, and figure out how you can channel that into being a board member with WRPA and helping us create stronger Parks and Recreation services and agencies. So that's my pitch, and welcome everybody.
I love that. Bring your superpower to the board. And we do need to sing our song more. Jen Wills and I were singing our song earlier in our head a little bit, but we need to sing it out loud. So I love that. Thank you, Brian. Okay, so now the Miss Jen Burbidge is going to go. She is our current vice president, and that is the first step in the president's track. So the president's track is a 4-year term, and it starts with the vice presidency. So I will let Jen talk about her role currently doing that.
Well, thank you. I'm Jen. I'm the Director of Parks, Culture, and Recreation for the City of Lacey, and I am fairly new to the board. It's my first time on the board, and I'm excited to serve in this role as Vice President, like Jen Papich said. And basically, my role is to assist the President as needed. So it's great because it's a chance for me to really learn everything that there is to know by attending the board meetings and following the president, and just kind of gaining that experience and knowledge as I go along. I'm also serving as the board liaison to the legislative committee The board had wanted someone to do that, and I was particularly interested in the legislative piece and learning more about that. So I am serving in that role as well. As far as a commitment, I would say approximately 4 to 6 hours a month. And yeah, others on the board, feel free to chime in. That wouldn't include like extra strategic planning sessions or conferences, but a lot of the conference stuff I would be going to anyway. So there might be, say, an additional meeting at a conference that you would attend. But hopefully that captures what the commitment is. The reason I joined the board is because I've been in this industry for almost 30 years. And over the course of my career, the WRPA organization has really provided me with a lot of education, and particularly around like leadership. You know, I've had mentors within WRPA and a lot of networking opportunities where if you get stuck in your position and something is challenging you in your job, you have like this network of people to call and say, hey, what are you guys doing with this? So it's been super valuable for me in my career. And so I want to give back to the organization and the members in the same way that others before me had helped me and my respective agencies, right? I've worked for 5 different agencies, which includes my current position, and whatever knowledge and help I'm getting personally, I'm also helping the organization. I also am a firm believer that with everything I experience, I'm still learning and gaining knowledge and development. And so, like I said, I've been in the industry almost 30 years. I'm on my 7th year as a director, and every day I learn something new. And so this is an opportunity for me to keep learning and teaching other people. Why I would encourage others, if you feel like you want that type of development that I just described, being on the board is a great opportunity. Also, if you feel like you want to give back and or make a change, I would encourage you to try to get on the board. One of the things the board has been talking a lot about is diversity, equity, and inclusion. And so we want a board that's more diverse and representative of our membership. So if you are someone who feels like you could help in that way, I think that would be particularly important. Also, it's fun. It's a great group of people who care about parks, culture, and recreation, and advancing the reasons we're all in the field to begin with. We know how essential parks and recreation is for communities. We're passionate about it, and we want to make a collective difference statewide and even nationally as we represent Washington State. And yeah, it's a lot of fun. Thanks.
It is a lot of fun. Thank you, Jen. Appreciate that. So those are the positions that are currently open for folks to put in a nomination for, either self-nominate or nominate a friend. So those are the positions that are open. Do you guys have any questions before we move on to the rest of the board positions? None at all. Okay, fine. We're just doing such a great job. There's no questions needed. All right. Well, we will start by, Lauren has a question.
I don't have a question. I forgot something. Everybody else was so prepared and so eloquent, and I feel like I stumbled along in my little words here. But I did want to also say that as a director up here in this corner, I also am a liaison to Western Washington University. Not that I'm involved directly with like the prep committee, but I do speak with the professors a lot, try to connect with students and try to encourage them to be involved with WRPA in a variety of roles and interests and networking opportunities. And then also, as you all mentioned, working with promoting membership, strategic planning, and then also at the conferences, really trying to help our WRPA staff and helping in any capacity or helping each other in any of the speakers or rooms or anything, just really being a support and knowing that there's someone there if help is needed.
Good additions, Lauren. Thank you. So we are going to move on with talking to our other 2 directors. We have a King County director and an Eastern Washington director. So we'll start with Andy Coleman, who's our Eastern Washington director. Andy, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Jen. Appreciate it. Good job leading us today. Andy Coleman, Parks and Recreation Director, the City of Walla Walla. Been in the profession about 28 years. Been with the City of Walla Walla for about 24. I am the East Region Director, which I believe that covers pretty much everything east of the Cascades. It's a lot of counties. I won't name them off. We'll be here for a long time. And I'm also have been appointed the secretary position as of recently. And so I'm taking meeting minutes and do my best there. As far as my duties, many of the other region directors covered what I do. I won't bore you and cover that again. But we have, in addition to that, we have held a couple of events in the region in the last few years, including a golf tournament, and then also most recently a meet and greet in Kennewick. There was a lot of professionals there. I think might even be a couple on this call that maybe we encourage to get involved in WRPA. It's definitely a great organization with a lot of good people involved. Like others said, it's nice to have some contacts. Everybody's facing a lot of the similar issues around the state and already know someone to be able to reach out and make that phone call is a lot easier. I was involved early on in my career. I was on the board. Would drive like 8 hours for a 1 hour meeting sometimes, which was painful. But we did it. But then my kids were growing up. I was busy with them. I wasn't involved in WRPA, but a couple years ago, and I was thinking in the back of my mind, okay, my kids are older. I have more time on my hands. Let me get involved. And one of my staff, unbeknownst to me, nominated me for a board position, and here I am today. So I'm glad to be a part of it. It's a great group of people. I'd encourage those on a call that are on the board to submit a nomination if you haven't already. It's a great group of people. It's an easy way to stay connected, and especially for me being somewhat isolated in Walla Walla, it's nice to have connections around the state. So that's the info from my standpoint.
Thank you, Andy. That's very great info. And we love having you over here at Eastern Washington as our regional director.
Thank you. There's a couple of us from this side of the state, huh?
All right, Marika, you are new to the board as well. So if you want to share from your perspective how it's going and lessons learned and talk about what you do as the King County director.
Yeah, well, thank you. I'll start to share by the fact that I became a board member through a nomination, which was great. And I feel like I have a really personal story with how I became the King County Region Director. I'm new, so as far as being a director, I haven't done much yet. I've done some more personal help. I've helped some individuals with their resumes and things like that. But on a broader scope, I'm still new to the board and feeling like I can contribute larger in King County. It's a big area with lots of condensed cities all over and across the lake from Lake Washington. But and I should tell you, I work for the city of Kirkland. I'm a recreation supervisor for the city of Kirkland. But to share the personal side of things, I've been a part of the WRPA for many years, helping with different conferences and things like that. I've been on a planning committee for many conferences, including helping with some mid-year things, which we now call, I think, the Fall Summit. I've been helping on the different committees. I've been on the Professional Development Committee, the Education Committee. I've currently, for the past 3 years, I've been the chair of the Sponsorship Committee. And I will share that that was not a really popular committee to be on. And then I saw Jennifer Papich at a social at the Vancouver conference. And I said, sure, not really knowing what I was going to get into. But I'll tell you, it was a really great thing because it just, being involved in the WRPA, even not as a board member, doing all these different things, it has helped me so much. I've gotten to know great people, and getting to know the board, as a whole, but even Lauren and Jen Burbage, I mean, they've been amazing support to me. And then, I'm sharing this personal side because it kind of comes full story. And that is, during COVID, I was let go from my job where I worked before in Kirkland. And, like 3/4 of the recreation department got cut because of COVID. And then, who turned to me, and that was the WRPA folks on different committees, Tiffany. And, I even wrote an article about being laid off, and now it's like full circle. I have a great job with a great city, and now I've been encouraged to continue to be involved with things with the WRPA, and now nominated for the board. And so it's been really meaningful to me. And while I've done a lot more before being a board member, there's just opportunity abound, and just the opportunity to network and grow and participate and contribute, and just that feeling for me that the WRPA has been really there for me. And so now it's my turn to give back, and I give back a lot by putting myself on a lot of committees and helping, but I'm still trying to figure out who I am as a board member, and I'll get there with everyone's help. But yeah, so it's been awesome. Really has been.
Thank you so much for sharing that personal side of it. I think we all have that personal side of, wanting to give back, and how we got into being on the board, and, just that initial, somebody asks you, and just even it's just as simple as an ask, and that kind of gets you going and being involved. And you answered it perfectly, because you make it what you want it to be. Each director handles their own region differently, and you do what works for your area. So there's no right and wrong to that. And that's the beauty of this as well. So thank you for sharing. All right, so next we are going to move on to the president's track here. We have, let's start with, this is just Jen. Jen's the only one that's left because Dave's not here, which I love, and then myself. But we'll start with Jen Wills. If you notice, we have it's like the board of Jens right now, which is wonderful. So Jennifer Wills, I will let you share your story.
Thank you. Jennifer Wills, Parks and Recreation Director for the City of Longview. I've been with Longview for 16 years, Director for 8. I am currently the president-elect, so part of the vice president, president-elect, past president term. And getting started with that seemed really daunting and really stressful. That seemed like a very long time to be in something that was other than an employment opportunity. But it's actually gone much faster and quicker. And I'm like, oh, slow down. I haven't done everything I wanted to do actually in the position. So I am the current president-elect. So come March or May, I will be the president. And I've had the opportunity to help Dave throughout his presidency and Jen throughout her presidency, filling in wherever necessary. So I think Burbage said it best, is kind of the two pre-roles of presidency. I think vice presidents, you're learning kind of everything that is coming up in your next role. And then as president-elect, you are in a support role, kind of getting ready to be handed off all of the things that are occurring. Hours of month commitment, I'm involved in admin network, legislative committee. So my hours of commitment is a little different, so I'm not sure how to separate my president role versus the other things that I'm doing with that, but I'm involved because I care. And one of the things that I didn't realize prior to getting involved is how much I used to think that WRPA's members just made WRPA work as a agency, and not understanding how much WRPA actually gives back to its membership. And I think when we first got involved, there was a recreational immunity, I'm going to say situation, what do you want to call it, court ruling, and we as WRPA spoke out in helping with that. And then there was another opportunity where we got to speak in support of a recreation agency that might have been getting cut. And so I started to see what we as a larger body could actually do for our members. And that's when I started to see how important we are and what we could do, and how much information was shared during COVID and those types of things, and the support system that WRPA is. It's not just just a fun networking thing, which I absolutely love everybody that we work with, but what we can actually do as an organization and what a collective voice can, how it can make change and how it can support. And so that is why I joined, because I wanted to be able to give back what it's been able to give to us. And so I would encourage you. I've made connections throughout the entire state. I've also been able to work with California and Oregon on some different things. And so legislatively, it's helped me grow speaking, although I say a lot of ums and I still talk with my hands. But it's helping me become a better professional in my own right. And so for that, I'm excited for anybody else who wants to join and help us grow. And especially we talk with the universities and the students. We're all looking for employees, like getting employees is difficult. And so helping as an agency, as a larger conglomerate, we are able to continue to have our profession grow. So that's why I do it. And you should too.
Yeah, what Jen said. No, I think everybody has spoken so eloquently about why they do it and, what brought them to the board. And my story isn't that much different. I will share really quickly. Again, you know who I am, Jennifer Papich. I work with the city of Spokane. I'm the current past president. So being a past president, I call myself the has-been, but my role as past president, other than other duties as assigned, are to chair the awards committee. So I help recruit folks to score and review the award submissions that everybody puts in for the annual conference, and then also look at the awards and the criteria to see if they need to be changed at all, work with that committee on those aspects. Over the years, we have been trying to change the awards. I'm sure you've noticed a little, so they're more all-inclusive, looking at those descriptions and the names of the awards through the equity lens. So it makes it more inviting for everybody to apply. And then also the nomination of board members. So this is another part of being past president, is just to kind of do that outreach and encourage people to be nominated or to nominate others to join the board. And again, like Jennifer Will said, I think that depends, your hours of commitment depends on other things that you do outside of the board. Like if you're doing prep committee or EIB committee or other things, a network committee, I would say, I'm going to say between 6 and 8 hours is what it is a month. Sometimes it's more, sometimes it's less, but it's completely manageable. And I enjoy every minute of it. It's awesome. These people are great. And some things that I enjoy are just the cool, statewide impacts that we have. Like when we were able to stand up the SEEK program and provide all of that funding to everybody to be a part of that, and developing that criteria and making that available, that AWC came to WRPA and wanting us to be the organization that did that was amazing. Working with the colleges and the prep committee on, there's a stress right now about people aren't, going into the profession. Aren't students going into the major. And so how do we get that awareness out? Having those kind of conversations, I really love having that conversations. We talk a lot with RCO and talk about, the grants that they're doing, the legislative work with our lobbyists. All of those things that are on the state level are so interesting, and it's cool to be a part of that and to think that you might have a little bit of impact on our profession that way, and helping people out is one of the reasons why I joined the board, other than just giving back to WRPA that has given me so much in my career. And I love it. It doesn't seem like work. The 4 years went by really, really fast, and I'll miss being a part of the board. But again, other than board positions, there's so many other ways you can be involved as well, like with the continuing education committee, the prep committee, which is the young professional committee, equity, inclusion, and belonging, legislatively. There's so many different ways for folks to be involved and contribute and bring your superpower to the association that, needs all sorts of different superpowers. So, I think that I love all of you that are on the call right now. I love seeing that there's so many of you. I hope that some of you have already nominated yourself. If not, you're going to nominate to be on the board, or at least join a committee or have some kind of a stronger presence in WRPA, because it's great. It's a great experience for everyone. I don't know if you guys have any other questions. You haven't had any questions. So do you have any questions? Oh, Jen's raising her hand.
Well, so my thing that I didn't state is, and I think a lot of people think this way, but that you don't have to wait to be a director or a assistant director in your organization to have a director role in WRPA. And I'm not sure who here is on the call and what your roles are. But if you're a recreation coordinator and you get an executive position through WRPA, it's only going to help your profession going forward. And so if you are on this call and you are a director and you're thinking about it, also think about your staff. Like, think about who you want or who you see as an emerging leader in your organization, and have them step up into that role. Maybe it's not a board, maybe it's on a committee, but that only is going to help grow your staff. And so you don't have to wait to be a director. That's my only plug.
Yes, I agree with that. Absolutely. And a lot of it comes from that director support as well. So some people are hesitant to join because they're not sure if it's supported by their agency. So hopefully the directors on the call here spread that, message and make sure that their staff know they're supported in doing that, which only helps our agency as well, because they get to learn all sorts of information that things are going down statewide that are important to all of us. Does anybody have any questions? Or Tiffany from the office, do you want to share anything, or anybody want to tell a joke? I don't know, anything.
I have a quick question just about the board's role with the annual conference, and how maybe beyond that, how we can help support that.
How the board supports the annual conference?
Yeah, what's the board's role with that, and how can other members help support it?
Great question, Brian. So I'll start, but then others can chime in. So with the annual conference, it is a separate committee outside of the board, typically made up of people from the host city and a committee that they kind of recruit. And then the Conference Continuing Education Committee, the CEC committee, is the committee that recruits and scores, evaluates, and puts the educational content together. And then the board, basically, I think the support of the board is just in the promotion of it and the day of speaking, presenting, things of that nature. Tiffany or anybody else, if you want to contribute to what I said.
Yeah, I can say something. Last year, the conference was in Bellevue, which is right next door to Kirkland. And so as we almost had all Kirkland people and some folks from Spokane and other folks helping, but like Jen said, it's usually a lot of people from the host city, so we help significantly there. And but then a lot of it is just choice. I'm not as involved in the Spokane one, but I fully intend to when I get there be of support whatever I can do. As a sponsorship chair, I intend on, schmoozing with the vendors and seeing what they might need, that kind of thing. So, even before being on the board, I helped put a funding option for parks forum together ahead of legislation day. So, and there were other board members that were part of that, even though I wasn't on the board at the time. So there's all kinds of things that you can do to kind of make it your own too. But there are times when I haven't been as involved, and then other times I've been so involved that it's been great fun, really beneficial to me, and takes more time. So it just depends. But I have found that there's a lot of flexibility, and people have, anyone on the board at one time seems to be contributing more than the other, and are all together. It just kind of balances itself out a lot.
I think the original question of the WRPA board and the conferences, as has been explained, we don't exactly have as much say or role with the planning. We might, everything is run by us and Tiffany, and this as well as the conference chair sometimes gives us reports. So we kind of look at the finances a little bit, and we'll know about if there's been work on the budget committee of we need to charge this much, and do you think that this is agencies can pay this and things along those lines. But also what's been alluded to many times is, you know, a lot of us, we started being on a committee, whether it was a conference committee, and really enjoyed meeting people and how else can I help. Some of us were very active in our networks. Some of us were very active in other committees. So there are numerous ways to get involved if you feel it's too much of a commitment right now, and maybe it'll be better in another year for you when another position opens up, or, you know, jump in with 2 feet and let us know how we can help with the transition. So yeah, it's a great opportunity to grow and to share with your department. When I came back to Bellingham, this is my second time up here. The first time I was here, our department was incredibly active. We were active in NRPA. We were a gold medal winner. We had a director who was very, very supportive, and 8 to 10 of us would go to conferences. When I came back here prior to COVID, we had numerous administration changes, and we weren't involved. And so we were able to convince new management that being an agency member is important. And since then, we've got several of our employees that are on the CEC and are on the sports and fitness and things. So it might even be little incremental changes that you can help promote, but it's great. And it is what you make of it based on what your schedule allows and what committees you're on.
There was a question in the chat from Nick Farland. I know they needed to leave, but they were asking about growing membership and how that is related to the board. So the main focus of growing membership, we do have a membership committee that is standalone outside of the board. However, the 4 regional directors really contribute to that in the sense that they get their membership reports, they're doing outreach in their regions. Another piece too is when we do the annual meeting at the conference, we will go through our numbers and how we've grown and what counties that we don't currently serve as having members. However, there are a lot of smaller counties that may not have a true Parks and Rec department, but maybe their Parks and Rec goes through Public Works or some other entity. And so that's kind of part of the jobs of the regional directors. Throughout the start of COVID, our membership actually has grown by us doing nothing other than being a great resource and kind of hub for everyone to come to and collaborate and work together. So it organically grew through a time that was like torturous for all of us, right? But WRPA just in general has been a pretty, I wouldn't say stagnant, but pretty maintenance type membership. So most agencies keep renewing, most individuals keep renewing. Really what we're seeing as far as dollar amounts is people moving back and forth from individual to organizational based on budgets and what have you. And that a lot of that happened during COVID, but we also had a campaign where we extended memberships 3 months just to help with the budgeting factor. But we would always love to extend our membership committee because it is very, very small and mighty. But the more the merrier, and the more organic personal touch points we can do, I think is going to keep our members coming back year after year versus the office here sending out emails, right? So that's kind of what we're doing with membership. And Nick can watch this later to hear this answer.
No, Tiffany, I was able to catch all that. I really,
there you go.
Yeah, no, I was president-elect for WRPA up in Alaska, and it was a challenge. It was, again, you touched on a lot of the different challenges that we were facing as well. How to expand to some of the municipalities and areas that weren't, currently part of WRPA, and then again, balancing those individual versus organization memberships, and then also, as you touched on, for us, is some of the real rural parts. How to be able to affect some of those departments or some of those municipalities that didn't have a specific Parks and Rec department. And so, that was a great answer. I appreciate that. sorry, I've got to leave, but it was great information. So thank you all very much.
And that's another reason why we do have other member types to accommodate folks that their primary focus is not Parks and Rec, but maybe they're under a different structure.
Anybody else have any questions for either the board or for Tiffany in the office? We didn't give Tiffany a proper time to introduce herself and what she does. So if you want to take a minute and do that, and if anybody has questions for Tiffany, we can let those go too.
Yeah, so you've probably heard the words or the acronym SBI. So that is a association management company, and WRPA is one of our clients. So all of the WRPA staff are underneath the umbrella of SBI. And the great thing about that is the board doesn't have to worry about all the kind of HR employment type pieces of the organization. And we'll take care of any staffing changes or what have you. And then the board can be more immersive within the association. Me personally, I started with SBI around 2016, and I was doing more administrative work actually for WRPA. And I ran a few events, and then an opportunity arose from a past executive director who left our company, and they asked me if I wanted to do it. I didn't have any idea what I was doing. I worked very closely with Eric Friedley, if you've heard of Eric Friedley when he was president, and he and I were attached at the hip. And then I went through mentoring with another senior executive here at SBI, and here we are. But my background before this was Boys and Girls Clubs. I ran all of the middle school and high school programs at the Ballard Boys and Girls Club. So this was one of those opportunities I didn't want to pass up. I was like, I need to work with these people. I love it. So of course, Boys and Girls Clubs and municipalities are very different in legislation and budgeting and things like that. However, the foundation of providing resources to the community is the same. So that's kind of my little story here. And then I work directly with the president and all of the board members, mostly around administrative logistics for all of the things that we're doing and making sure the staff here are connected with the appropriate people.
Thanks, Tiffany. And Brian brought up a good point in the chat. Thank you, Brian. If any of you don't want to ask your question here, or maybe you don't think about a question that you have until after this, you can go ahead and reach out to any of us individually that are currently on the board, or or to Tiffany, and we'll be happy to answer those questions for you. We're just so happy that you guys all came and showed some interest, and we hope that this first virtual open house went well and got some questions answered for everybody. We appreciate you being here. I know we have about 9 minutes left, so if anybody else wants to add anything, I definitely think I've talked enough. But if anybody else wants to share anything before we sign off, please do. No. Okay. All right. Well, thank you guys. It has been really wonderful. I loved hearing everybody's stories. Again, anytime that we meet and do this, it just gives me more inspiration and motivation, and why we do what we do. We're awesome people, and our career is pretty great. So hopefully we'll see some of these faces on the board in the year to come. Thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate your time today.